when an Android app starts, your activity is not started. What it does is it goes in and says, hey, look at that. I'm going to call the onCreate. This will only happen the first time your app starts. So if you pause it and come back in, it'll trigger onStart instead of onCreate. onCreate comes in here and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to call my parents' version of onCreate. We have copied everything from app compat activity. We're inheriting everything from there. And we're going to call its version of onCreate to get our app started. Then we're going to set the content view. What does that really do? Has something to do with our activity main. What it does is it assigns this to be the layout or the user interface for our app. It goes and displays whatever is in this XML file here. It inflates, it renders all these objects so you can see it, but it inflates these or turns them into objects. We can access them. If you note, if you try to access any of these elements before setContentView, you're not going to be able to see it. It doesn't exist yet. At this point is when you inflate it. Later in the year, when you run into problems and you see an error that says can't inflate an object, then you know it's in the layout because it's trying to blow up one of your elements and you're inside your tags and turn it into an object. And it's no, I can't. Something's wrong. It's usually because you put the wrong support library, but we'll look at that later when we get to it. Okay, that's our set content view. Here we can access those elements because they have been inflated. Now watch this. If we go and change our plan and say, you know what, I'm gonna declare and instantiate, because I've done that many times in Java classes. This is what I'm good at. Remember when I hit ID, it goes and finds everything I need, and this should be able to get it, right? Now I'm going to do Control/ to comment out this line. This display should still work because I've instantiated it. When I run this, right, Shift F10, I run this app, I'm going to get, uh-oh. You don't get the uh-oh part. Let me show you. Uh-oh, here's the uh-oh part. Isn't that beautiful? In JGrass, you get little bits of error. In Android, you get a whole page worth of errors, or 2 paragraphs. But if you notice, eventually, you know there's a lot of gibberish. They don't make much of a difference. But you see the no pointer error. Yes, some of you have caught that this is a fatal exception error. There's a no pointer exception error. You're trying to access something that doesn't exist. And if you follow along here, it says you're trying to reference a no object. And then the cool thing about Android Studio is it gives you in blue the location of where this is happening. If I go like this, I'll bring it up. If I put my cursor here and I click this link, it'll take me, see, it took the cursor here to where the mistake happens. And so at this point, I can start trying to figure out what's wrong. When you're running into problems with your apps today, make sure you take a look at logcat, look for the red, look for the blue line of code so you can give you an idea of where the problem is. The other common mistake is look over here. It says emulator pixels. Click this and make sure it is currently connected to your current emulator or device. Sometimes your emulator drops off and then it reconnects, and so you'll have 2 of them here. Or if you start a new one, it might have 3 or 4 of them. And you want to make sure you're connected to the one that's actually being tested. Otherwise, you won't get any information. Let's Control Z for just like in Word. Undo all that. All right. So this is a global declaration and instantiation, and that's why you can't do the instantiation, because you haven't inflated the XML yet, and therefore you can't access those objects yet. Okay. Now that the object is in, we got this set OnClickListener, just like in what you did in your foundation class. Right here, we're generating an interface, and we want to be able to use this what you're doing is you're making the object and you're passing it right back in like we said last time. But there's the other way of doing it. And I'm more doing this to show you the error. It was like, hey, wait a minute, no, I'm not happy. Again, you can click the red or you can use the magic Alt Enter. And it says, hey, you know what? There's an abstract method and you better implement it. You promised to. I said, okay, fine, do it for me. And it says, hey, this is what you need. On click, we go, okay. And there it is. It populates it for you. It puts in the parameters for you. It's good to go. Now you can take this part out if you want to. We could go, I'll do control / comment all that out and say, and then where's my OnClickListener going to come from? It's going to be me. I am. Main activity is an OnClickListener now. When we implement this, we become this. We're implementing this interface. We're going to say this. Haha, pass myself in. So remember, this is a reference to the current instance, okay, of main activity, and then it does nothing. We can put code in if we want to. All right, I want to mess some things up on purpose. Make some ugly code here. To line everything up, remember you can do Control A to highlight everything, Control Alt I to line it up. A Control Alt I will auto indent. You can auto indent one part or the entire thing. You can highlight, Control / to uncomment and repeat the process. That's the quick in and out of editing, commenting. For today's assignment, we're going to use a string array. And one of the first thing I want you to do is start practicing your searching skills. You're going to Google string resource or string array and Android string array, and you'll come to a page like this. And this is awesome because this is where Google has made their documentary of their operating system, and you can look up specific skills. Let's focus on string resources. Strings, we've started working with last class, fairly straightforward. You can read about it and the notations. Most students don't have any trouble or questions about that, but you can follow up and get back to me if there's something in particular that catches your attention. I want to get to the string array part, and I'm going to skip this part because I actually don't like the way they write that out. This is the way I prefer to see it. Instead of string, you're going to tag it string array. You give your array a name, right? And then each item in the array is surrounded by an item tag. This is item 0, 1, 2, 3. Remember, with arrays, the indexing starts at 0 and then advances from there. Okay. To actually access it, you'll need to get the name here, convert that string array into an array, and then store it somewhere. In this case, they store it into the variable planets, which is declared as a string array. And then to access it, you would just do planets at 0, planets at 1, planets at 2, so forth. For today's assignment, you'll cycle through an array. As you click, you're going to cycle through that.